Welcome to Free of My Reviews. This is Chris Johnson, a review of Birds of Prey. So, Birds of Prey, or the full title, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, is really less of a Birds of Prey adaptation, of course, and more of the Harley Quinn solo movie with a couple of other famous female characters from DC in it. Stars Margot Robbie again, who is playing a Harley Quinn who was since broken up with the Joker since the events of Suicide Squad. And since she has broken up with the Joker, that means she's open season to every other scumbag who she's wronged while she was with the Joker. And in order to protect herself, she has to go get this kid who has stolen something from Black Mask, who is, of course, a Batman villain who's a mobster with this fantastic, eerie, Red Skull looking Black Mask, but of course, black. Um, so I hate Suicide Squad. Really do. Really do. Thought it was obnoxious, schizophrenic, poorly made, incredibly tone deaf piece of shit with the worst Joker I've ever seen. Even worse than the Beetlejuice shoeless looking some bitch from the Batman animated series. Sue me, I grew up on Mark Hamill, alright? It was like he looked like, felt like, and acted like more of a fanboy of the Joker than the Joker himself. And mind you, we have seen Jokers where they have made some changes, like taking vat of acid out, like they did in The Dark Knight and the Joker solo movie that just came out. But it was like the essence of the character, especially in The Dark Knight, is so rampant and beautiful and just fantastically written. And none of that was in Suicide Squad. And one of the things that I did not like about Suicide Squad is I just didn't like how it was like they forgot that the Harley Quinn Joker thing is how messed up it actually is. Cause I've come from the era that remembered the birth of Harley Quinn, which was Batman the Animated Series, and how she was his female lackey who's totally obsessed with him. And Joker's Joker. He don't care. He doesn't care about anyone. He only cares about what you could do for him. Many times he threw her on her ass, kicked her out, and the sadness is the sad part of the character, she keeps coming back. So when people looked at her as like a feminist icon, I was like, the hell? Um, so going out of that movie, I hated what they did because I thought like they missed the point. You know, I do think this one gets the point a little bit better. Uh, but also I think what works better about Birds of Prey and why I ultimately like it more is its tone. It knows the tone it's going for from the jump. This is a fun, colorful action movie with really a mentally broken lead. So it's almost like one of those movies where you got the narrator that you can't depend on because this person's nuts. Now, it leads to the best parts of the movie and the worst aspects of the movie. But let's just stick to the best parts first. Um, like I said, Margot Robbie. I fully believe is one of the best actresses that we have today. It's not just because she's an absolutely gorgeous woman. It's not just because she's a good lord level woman, but because her range is insane. I mean, did you see her in The Wolf of Wall? I mean, first off, have you heard her speak in real life with her regular accent, right? And how she actually is in real life. And then did you see The Wolf of Wall Street with that Brooklyn accent? That Brooklyny accent. That was crazy. You would think that was actually her accent, when we were watching that movie. And then to find out she's Australian, it's like, are you kidding? You know? And did you see I, Tanya? Without even knowing much from what I heard, not even knowing it was based on a true story. With Tanya Harding. And to jump into that and be one of the better parts of Bombshell along with Charlize Theron. And getting into the heart and the frailty and the essence of what that character was going through, while at the same time still being the light in the room. And then, even if you have a problem with how Harley Quinn is written in Suicide Squad, and maybe even written in this film as well, probably, you cannot deny how great Margot is in the role. I've always felt like Harley Quinn is a strange choice of character, and this is just coming from me being a fandom of her origins. You know, and being kind of a strange character to make as a lead, and at first not feeling like she can carry a movie, a feature length movie, but in the end, I do feel like this movie proves that wrong for me, and a lot of the big reason why is because Margot Robbie can lead a movie, can put a movie on her back, put a movie on her shoulders, and just drag it to the promised land. She's that level of talent in this industry, and I love her to death, and I love her performance in everything I've seen her in, including her work as Harley Quinn. Um, the cast is also filled with some other good performances. Uh, um, you know, and it's very interesting to it's very interesting to look at the characters from the performance aspect and the right and compare it to the writing aspect, because I think all the actors do a good job. Ewan McGregor, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Jenny Smollett Bell as Black Canary, and Rosie Perez as Renee Montoya, who's another character I've loved because of Batman the Animated Series. And then put her with an actress who I've been in love with since do the right thing, and it was cool to see her. Um, but it's weird because this is a double edged sword to some of the characters, because this one will lead more and more into the flaws of the film, even though I actually this is a forgivable one. Um, a lot of these characters are the character in name only. Like, Ewan McGregor is really fun to watch as Black Mask, but I gotta tell you, that was not Black Mask. First off, he rarely wears the mask, and I don't remember seeing too much of his face out in, especially out in public. But he's so like flamboyant and so I Tim Curry or Rocky Horror Picture Showy, you know, and it's like, this is Black Mask, Gotham City gangster, acting like this, feeling like this, thinking like this. No, all right, okay. You roll with it because it's entertaining. Because sometimes you roll with it and go like, well, why not? But then in the back of your mind, you're thinking, damn, this is the first live action adaptation of certain characters, and they're not acting like themselves. So you can't help but being a little bit disappointed in that aspect. Then you got Victor Zsasz, who has been adapted in live action before. Small role in Batman Begins, role in Gotham. And I saw someone who said he was creepier in this, in their opinion, than in Gotham. I don't know if I agree with that. That guy in Gotham, to me, is a creepy guy. Looking, and that's part of the reason why that actor's role and Barry works so well, because he's so goofy, you know. Um, I don't know if the Victor Zsasz Black Mask relationship works with me. Uh, uh, just because of what the two characters are in the source material. Um, it almost felt like they had a romantic relationship and they cut it out of the film, because just the way they act towards each other, it's like they don't feel like right hand men. That doesn't feel like Black Mask's right hand. That feels more like Black Mask's boyfriend who happens to work with him. And I never really thought of Victor Zsasz that way. And Victor Zsasz is kind of a weird character to do that with. Um, just so psychotic and so bloodthirsty. I never really thought of desires that he would have besides just murdering people. Uh, but that's where they took the characters. I don't know. I had to get used to a little bit of with Black Canary's differences and stuff, and don't she doesn't really dress like her, doesn't really act like the one I know, but I feel like the actress does such a great job that you don't really care. I mean, it's not like the one we've seen on Arrow for the past few years. I mean, they've had how many Canaries on that show since? They got the original one that they first introduced in their version, Laurel Lance, so wrong that they killed her off so they can bring her back, the actress back, and give her a better character, a better version of the Black Canary. It's funny, but also that I think that whatever problems you'd have with Black Canary would be more about with the flaws in the writing, which is Harley Quinn is really the only really fully established character in the film. It's an hour and 49 minutes. There's a bunch of characters, but you know, everybody else kind of gets the footnotes of what you need to learn about them. Like Huntress, what her background with her family and all that stuff, and she was trained. You're told all of this, and really that's it. She doesn't play as much of a role as you'd expect. Um, Birds of Prey in general don't play much of a role as you'd expect. Montoya probably gets the biggest screen time outside of Harley. Canary, you're told what you need to know, but that's it. There isn't really much of an attempt to make us connect too much with these guys, except for just what you need to know. And I do think that's something that would keep it from being considered great, as I don't know if the narrative is there too much. Like, it's kind of it's when I was coming out and when I was watching the movie in general, I was like, this narrative is pretty messy. It's a little all over the place. Um, but then at the same time, you start thinking about, okay, this is from the point of view of a crazy person in Harley Quinn. That does make sense, but you as a viewer, your mind has to kind of um, get used to it. You have to literally mentally tell yourself while watching the film, well, this is how Harley Quinn sees things in her point of view, and it's not going to be cleaned up. It's not going to be all there. So I guess this narrative decision makes sense. You just have to get used to it. Um, Also, another character. I'll be the first, and I can't really speak on this too much. But Cassandra Cain is the little girl who robs the diamond. That's basically the MacGuffin of the film. And I can't really speak much on this in terms of comic book accuracy, but from what I heard, she is that character in name only. Even more so than Black Mask. Black Mask, you still get the mask. Canary, you still get the canary cry. You know, uh, Huntress, she does Huntress things. May not be as much of it as you want it to be, but she does. Um, there's nothing Cassandra Cain about Cassandra Cain in the film whatsoever. Uh, she's whatever. She's really a non-factor to me for this movie. Uh, do I really care whether she lives or dies? Not really. No. You know, and as somebody, I saw somebody say this last night. This is basically them doing Deadpool 2. Uh, she's Russell, but without really the character arc. You know, there's really nothing to her character besides being a fun little ornament for Harley Quinn to bounce off of and talk to people, to talk to someone. She's whatever. Um, okay. Now, somebody did excuse this a little well by saying this movie doesn't take place in a long period of time. But I was wondering, while sitting in the theater watching the movie and watching the events transpire, I really had to wonder where in the hell was the Batman? Not because I wanted him, not because I was expecting him to be in the movie, but at the same time, they do like mention him once or twice, um, and it did make me wonder what all the terribleness Black Mask is doing to people. Uh, with the fact that they established that Harley Quinn is open season because of her breaking up with the Joker, and my question ended up being, oh, if she's open season, why isn't Batman dropping by on her roof at night? You know? Why is Batman willingly allowing this crazy person who just got broken out of prison at the end of Suicide Squad to roam the streets? And I thought they were going to do another one of those cases where this is another movie where Batman has been gone from Gotham or something like that. But nope. Not even a reference of him possibly maybe being too busy with the Justice League to do anything about it. Nope, nothing. So because they didn't reference him, it kind of you kind of have to figure it out for yourself why Gotham really in this movie is as much of a cesspool as it is. With Black Mask owning the city and Joker owning this part of the city and Harley Quinn left to run loose and the police being trash, which was another thing I want to talk about too. Where was Gordon? Like, okay, we got this captain, and this captain's a douchebag who doesn't want to do anything, doesn't value Renee Montoya's contributions, keeps passing her over for her less competent male partner. And then I'm like, okay, right. Where's Commissioner Gordon? Why isn't my girl sitting side by side, working with him? Because I can't imagine the accurate Commissioner Gordon letting her go through this. You know? I know it would be difficult for him to completely clean up Gotham PD, but I do fully believe that Renee Montoya would be one of those characters that Commissioner Gordon would want close to him. You know, just in my opinion. Um, Man, I've been rambling about the stuff I don't like. I haven't talked enough about the stuff I do like. Besides Margot and the actors being great, I really felt like the reason why you can let this go, a lot of this stuff go and look past it and still enjoy yourself, is because unlike Suicide Squad, I don't think this movie's tone deaf. I think this movie knows exactly, and these filmmakers knew exactly the type of movie they wanted to make. They wanted to make like a really fun, funny, light, look at this madness type of movie. And I feel like they nailed that aspect. And since that's the biggest aspect of the movie works for me overall. It's zany. It's like how it introduces its characters. It's like, okay, this is Suicide Squad, but done better type of thing. Uh, you know, uh, little cliff notes. Who's this person? What she did to them? That fun stuff. It's this is crazy zany goofball. What the hell is this Gotham City? And I actually feel like it works because there was rarely a moment where I wasn't laughing. And then let me get to my other favorite aspect of the film, the action. Now, we all heard that the action went through some reshoots, and what they ended up doing was getting the director of John Wick to come in and help out with the action scenes. And you can see that right from the jump, how the action is shot, how the action is choreographed, how the action is even edited. It's so perfectly wide. And there are certain moves that you expect from his work that you get right there in your face. And I adored it. Once I got past of course, like I said, I don't play too many of the games. I don't read much of the New Age comic books, so I didn't I'm not used to Harley Quinn being so good of a fighter. So I'm like, once I got past the, how the hell is Harley Quinn fighting this well? I know she's crazy, but when she take kung fu classes, but once I got, once you got out of that hump, it's like, okay, it's a movie. Who cares? Um, the action, uh, come on, this is what I'm talking about. Take the time to do the work. If you see little flaws here and there, that's gonna happen when you're trying to do choreographed action where, you know, characters are hitting each other. Sometimes there's gonna be a flaw here and there. But don't just go quick cutty on me because this actor or this actress cannot do a fight scene. Because then it's like, ugh. And I really like the description everybody's saying. John Wick, obviously, meets Jackie Chan, obviously, because John Wick and those directors and all those guys were inspired by how Hong Kong action shoots their fights and how they edit their fights. The widest angle, the widest lenses, really capture every nook and cranny about the fight and help the fights tell stories. The fights should have their own stories. The stories within stories within stories that the best Hong Kong fights have, which John Wick people have been doing so damn well on those John Wick movies. And it was a very wise decision, just like it was on Rogue One when they brought in Tony Gilroy to help with the reshoots and improve what needed to be improved on that film. Very wise decision from Warner Brothers, from Kathy and the director of the film, to bring those people in to nail a better aspect of the film that they wanted to nail. So I give everybody credit for this. I give Warner credit for bringing for letting it ride. I give Kathy Ann credit in general for, in my opinion, having a better handle of the tone of her film than David Ayers had on Suicide Squad, and in knowing that bringing in the John Wick director to do the second unit on the fights and the action will just improve your movie, and it does, because I can't imagine this movie without the great action and how well it's done. Especially most of these people are not super powered, so most of the action's 99.9% focused on hand-to-hand combat, and I'm tired of how hand-to-hand combat has kind of been portrayed in American cinema, and it was so refreshing to see another movie besides John Wick, but besides the movies that have been directed by Chad Stahelski or David Leitch. So that's the 3 John Wicks, and then for David, it's Atomic Blonde and Deadpool 2 and Hobbs and Shaw. Besides these movies, having really well done Hong Kong type action filmmaking, I love that. To me, that was the big thing that took the movie home. So even then, unlike most of the other movies that have been coming out this year, where the flaws are so that I just can't recommend it. Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey's tone, Birds of Prey's comedy, Birds of Prey's acting, and Birds of Prey's fantastic action scenes were more than enough to overcome what shortcomings it may have had in some of the writing and some of the character work, and it's just a really fun time at the movies. It really was. It is definitely one of the good examples of, hey, let's shut our brain off for 2 hours and just have a ball and let the movie take me type of thing. And even as a comic book fan, if you can ignore the fact that it is definitely Birds of Prey in name only, because there is no Batgirl and or / Oracle, and the characters aren't really as they were in that, in to the point that even the lineup is not even the same. By the end, and if you can accept the fact that Some characters don't get as much play as Harley Quinn. You can be taken by the acting and the world and the fun, the tone, and by the fantastic action scenes. And it's definitely possible. I had a good time, man. I had a good time. Is it as good as Aquaman? Hell no. Is it as good as Shazam? No. Is it as good as Wonder Woman? Stop it. But it's still a fun time. Hey, it's better than Justice League. It's better than Batman vs. Superman. And it's better than Suicide Squad. I had fun. I had a good time with this movie. And you know what? I really do think you will too.